Need to feel better can be a challenge. Now you can keep fit while you sit with QB, the world's leading compact seated elliptical. QB gives you active sitting, letting you burn calories and keep moving in an easy and low-impact way, all while you work, read, or watch TV. QB was named a top 10 gift by Time Magazine and has been featured all over the world. It's whisper quiet while it works your abs and core, hip flexors, glutes, quads, hamstrings, and calves.
QB is a lifesaver for me.
Here's your answer to your problem.
I feel young again.
Join the hundreds of thousands of people moving more with QB. Call to find out how to get your QB with free shipping and a 30-day completely risk-free trial. You'll also get this QB workout mat free. Now keep fit while you sit with QB.
To order, call 800-289-5820. That's 800-289-5820. Call now.
Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman, in tonight for Richard French.
Floyd has this great, deep Southern voice, raspy. He's like, "Sis, you okay, sis?" And I wasn't okay. I said, "No, I'm just waiting for my son's father." He said, "Well, can I pray with you?"
Another powerful, emotional day of testimony in the Derek Chauvin trial as George Floyd's girlfriend describes the first time she met him. Courtney Ross spoke about her relationship with Floyd and was also asked about Floyd's drug use.
We both suffered from chronic pain. Mine was in my neck and his was in his back. We both had prescriptions, but after prescriptions that were filled and we got addicted and tried really hard to break that addiction many times.
Chauvin's defense is expected to focus on Floyd's use of drugs when they get their turn and call their witnesses. Floyd's autopsy found he had fentanyl and methamphetamines in his system when he died, but it's important to note that the medical examiner says those drugs were not the cause of death. Officially, it was heart failure, according to the Emmy. We're also seeing a lot of video for the first time, including these images from Chauvin's body camera.
Advise the fire department if they're still with you, they need to go to 36 Mid Park to assist with the patient.
But I feel respect that's one person's opinion. But no, I gotta get him. We gotta control this guy because he's a sizable guy. Yeah, and I gotta get in the car. Looks like he's probably on something.
Behind the radio noise in that video, you heard Chauvin speaking with a bystander. That man is Charles McMillan. He was right there when Floyd was arrested, and Chauvin was struggling to load Floyd into the cop car while he was struggling, screaming, and saying he couldn't breathe. McMillan openly wept in court after seeing that video.
Oh my God.
And he's not the only grown man to break down in tears this week while on the stand. Donald Williams is an MMA fighter who was on the scene that day, and as you can see from the video, he was wiping tears away from his eyes after prosecutors played part of the 911 call he placed to report what was happening to Floyd. A paramedic who treated George Floyd also took the stand today, and he described what he saw when he arrived.
From what I could see where I was at, I didn't see any breathing or movement or anything like that.
Did he appear to be unresponsive to you at that point in time?
From what I could tell, just standing from a distance, yes.
Provendier treated Floyd, but an off-duty Minneapolis firefighter who came upon the scene was not allowed to get near Floyd as he was being pinned and while Floyd was unresponsive.
Come on.
Firefighter from Minneapolis.
Bro, look, well, you should check on him. He's not responsive right now.
Back off.
He's not responsive.
Look at him.
Get out the street. He's not responsive right now. He's not responsive right now. He's not responsive right now, bro.
Does he have a pulse?
No, bro, look at him. He's not responsive right now, bro.
Check for a pulse.
Bro, are you serious? You gonna just let him sit there with that on his neck,
Let me see a
bro?
pulse.
You call what you do. You call what he doing okay, bro? Are you really a firefighter?
Yes,
bro.
I am from Minneapolis.
Okay, bro, you call. You think that's okay? Check his pulse.
Check his right
His
now.
pulse. Yeah, back of the check. The man ain't moved yet, bro. The man ain't moved yet, bro. Where?
Minneapolis.
Okay.
That firefighter, Genevieve Hansen, took the stand earlier this week to describe what happened.
And were you able to do that, any of those steps?
No, sir.
Why weren't you able to do any of that?
Because the officers didn't let me into the scene. I also offered, in my memory, I offered to walk them through it or told them, if he doesn't have a pulse, you need to start compressions. And that wasn't done either.
And so are these things that you wanted to do?
It's what I would have done for anybody.
When you couldn't do that, how did that make you feel?
Totally distressed.
Were you frustrated?
Yes.
Today's court session ended about 30 minutes ago. Of course, we'll keep following the trial until its conclusion and beyond, and we'll keep you posted of key developments. But up next tonight, retired four-star General Wesley Clark joins us to talk about President Biden's foreign policy, the Capitol Hill riot, and more.
Villains, robbers, bandits, crooks, they're all over your TV screen. But the biggest thieves are behind your screen. I'm talking about the cable companies. They charge monthly subscriptions, fees, rentals, and force you to take long-term contracts. Well, it's time to say goodbye to the cable guy, because now you can watch 4K Ultra HD broadcast TV for free. Introducing Clear TV's new 4K Ultra HD design, the Premium HD. Just plug it into your TV and start watching for free. You will instantly receive top-rated network shows, local news and weather, sporting events, and even Ultra HD 4K broadcast shows, all for free. Thanks to a federal government mandate, all broadcasters are required to transmit a digital TV signal through the airwaves. The new Premium Clear TV lets you bypass cable or satellite to bring network and 4K broadcast shows directly to your television. Retract the antenna to keep it small or extend them for maximum reception.
Setup was so easy. I took my Clear TV antenna, plugged it into the back of the TV, and now I can watch my favorite broadcast channels anywhere in the house for free.
We're just off the coast here in the Gulf of Mexico receiving free network broadcast HD TV. Imagine all the free shows you'll receive at home.
Basic cable and satellite services can cost you up to $80 a month. That's $960 a year and almost $10,000 over a 10-year period. Watch TV in as many rooms as you like with no additional monthly fees. Stop spending money you don't have to spend. Call or go online now and get your premium Clear TV 4K Ultra HD antenna for only $19.95. It's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee. Order now and you can add a second Clear TV free. Just pay separate processing and handling. That's a $40 value for only $19.95.
I can't believe I get all these channels for free. Plus 4K Ultra HD, Clear TV is for real.
This is important news for people who took certain drugs for HIV and then suffered serious injury to their kidneys or bones. Your HIV drug could have contained TDF, an ingredient known to increase the risk of kidney disease and kidney failure. TDF has also been linked to bone fractures, bone density loss, and softening of the bones. If you or a loved one took Truvada, Viriad, Atroplus, Stribild, or Complera and then suffered from kidney disease, kidney failure, bone fractures, osteoporosis, osteopenia, osteopenia, or osteomalacia, call the lawyers at Davis & Crump right now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. If you or a loved one took any of these medications and were then diagnosed with kidney disease, kidney failure, bone fractures, bone density loss, or softening of the bones, call Davis & Crump right now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call Davis & Crump right now. Operators are standing by.
We'll create millions of jobs, good-paying jobs. We'll grow the economy, make us more competitive around the world, promote our national security interest, and put us in a position to win the global competition with China in the upcoming years.
That was President Biden announcing his $2 trillion infrastructure plan yesterday. Right now, the United States has the world's largest economy, but China's is number 2. And some experts say it could pass the U.S. within the next decade. China's also beefing up its military and flexing its muscles on the world stage. Our first guest tonight recently wrote a piece in Washington Monthly. The headline, How to Fight Authoritarianism. To manage the rise of China and other illiberal forces, the U.S. and Europe need a new kind of alliance. Joining us now to discuss that article and more, retired 4-star General Wesley Clark. Clark was also NATO Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, a Rhodes Scholar, and was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, among other things. General, you spend the bulk of your piece on the need to strengthen the global forces of democracy and the need for a new U.S. alliance with Europe to help do that. At multiple points, you also point to the rise of anti-democratic groups here in the U.S., and you point to the Capitol riot as an obvious flashpoint. It struck me as somewhat counterintuitive to be focusing on global democracy when it's under attack here at home, yet you say both can and need to be done at the same time. How?
How? By basically, if we work with our allies and we bring the Republican Party and Democratic Party together, we're going to raise the standard of living for working Americans. We're going to create jobs. We're going to show that government can be effective. And at the same time, our European allies are looking for that American leadership. Now, they'd like some amelioration in the very tough competitive business practices of the United States vis-a-vis Europe. That is to say, the race to the bottom, sometime in wages and benefits for employees. I think we've got to do both. We've got to do that to help our people here in the United States. I think we've got to do it to bring our European allies aboard. And I don't think we can be safe unless we do it, either abroad or at home.
Are they contingent upon each other? Do we have to reform our democracy or improve our democracy here at home in order for us to be taken seriously around the world and vice versa?
I think that's absolutely true, because I think foreign policy is a function of domestic politics. And when you have a deeply divided country, and especially so many people who question the legitimacy of our government and our democratic system, well, it reflects on the United States as a whole, and it limits our ability to use moral authority as well as other means to influence actions abroad.
Speaking of that moral authority, General, will our European allies still look at the U.S. as the bedrock of global democracy? I suspect they will view us that way at least until 2024 with Joe Biden in the White House. But can we really lead the world when our positions on foreign policy and also things as basic as freedom and democracy appear to be so changeable and so different after every presidential election?
Well, only recently. We had a long consensus in this country that every person should have the right to vote. What you're seeing now is a partisan movement to attempt to restrict voting for partisan advantage. It's so deeply un-American. And when our allies see it abroad, it's so offensive, and they don't understand it. And I hope the Republican Party will wake up at some point and recognize that America is more important than either political party. The loyalty has to be to the country as a whole. And we've got to give people the right to vote. The Supreme Court has to help us do that.
You've mentioned certain aspects of our ailing democracy, but those may be more symptoms as opposed to the cause. What do you think is ailing our democracy at this point? If President Biden called you up and asked, how do we improve democracy here at home, how would you respond?
Well, I would like to see what's known as H.R. 1 or S1 passed, because I think a number of anti-democratic practices have emerged over the last 20 years, everything from gerrymandering to too much money in politics, to the way the filibustering is going on the Hill, to the lack of real investment. But we're at the end of a 40-year cycle that began with Ronald Reagan that delegitimated government. We govern with the consent of the governed in this country. It's our government. It's not imposed on us. It's not authoritarian. So I think, what President Biden is doing, and I say this as an American, not as someone who ran as a Democratic candidate for the office. I say it as an American. What he's doing is restoring faith in the potency and capacity of the United States government to help the American people. And that's the bedrock of legitimacy for this country and for democracies around the world.
The most obvious moment showing the democracy in difficulty, as you wrote, was the Capitol riot. I'm curious what your reaction to the riot was, and then also when you heard that groups like the Oath Keepers and former military members were involved, your reaction to that as well.
Well, there are a bunch of people who've been misled. Many of them think they're operating for the right purposes, but they have the wrong facts and the wrong framework for their actions. But it stems from not just the misinformation on social media, not just from the competition between the two parties, but actually from 40 years of consecutively financializing our economy, to downgrading the value of and use of unions, to keeping down wage levels. I mean, $7.50 an hour minimum wage, that's not the minimum wage that we even had back in the 60s, if you measure it in real terms. So people don't live on $7.50. And I see all this discussion, and it's just so sad, because so many Americans are working so hard to take care of themselves and their families. They want an honest break. They want a government that'll stand up for them. I think that's, when we do that, I think the problems that look like we have in our democracy, I think they'll go away very quickly.
And as someone who walked the line for more than 30 years in uniform in defense of this nation, just your reaction when you saw the symbol, the focal point of that democracy, the Capitol, being stormed during the riot.
Oh, it was appalling. It was appalling, and especially to know that some of those people served with us in uniform, and they just didn't know any better. They didn't understand what they were doing. They thought they did. They were going to save us from a Democratic election because someone said it was a stolen election. Well, it wasn't a stolen election, but they were listening to their own networks. And yes, every time there's been a change in media, from the emergence of the popular newspapers in the late 19th century, where we ended up with the war in Spain, to radio, to television, where we shocked everybody in Vietnam when they could actually see the pictures, to today with social media. The change in media and communications with the public has a huge impact on democracy, and people have to learn how to handle it, how to live with it. So we're still learning about social media. We don't have the answers to it yet.
Let's shift to the global stage. You write about strengthening our alliances with Europe to offset the challenges posed by China and Russia. How serious are the threats from them today? What kinds of threats are we facing? And how has the threat from those two countries changed, especially over the last 4 years?
Well, there's always a military foundation to these threats, but actually the threats are not purely military, and they can't be met by purely military means. So I'm all in favor of catching up with our technology to be able to match our competitors over there with things like hypersonics. But we've got to deal with misinformation. We've got to deal with cyber warfare. We've got to deal with election interference. And we've got to deal with what modern finance is. China's not a Cold War adversary. We depend on China. They depend on us. And yet they steal information from us, steal our technologies, use our educational system, and maybe we would go to war with them one day. The best way to impress China, though, is to have a lot of allies who say, we like the United States. We want to do deals with the United States. So we work it economically, we work it morally, we work it politically. And those allies, and especially Europe with its 500 million people, they're a very important counterbalance to China if we can get them on our side and keep them on our side.
There is, of course, a lot of ill will in the U.S. right now to both of those countries, Russia with election interference and the bizarre relationship between Trump and Putin. And of course, Trump framed China as a pariah over COVID. President Biden seems to be changing the message and the messaging. I'm wondering if there's any sense whether there's progress yet, and how much do you think that change in approach will change the relationships and hopefully change the results?
Well, I think we do have to have relationships with both China and Russia. And I think that what we'll have in the Biden administration is less focus on a transactional relationship, especially with China. This was a real problem with President Trump. It was like, you give me this, I'll give you that. And instead, the Biden administration, Secretary of State Blinken, Secretary Austin, they see the big picture of this, that there are multiple strands in this relationship, that you've got to have allies, that there's give and take. We've got to protect ourselves, our own national interests. We've got to do the things that are in our short-term interest and the long-term interest. We need help from China to deal with climate change, and they need help from us. And we should be working together on that. Jake Sullivan sees the big picture. He's written some wonderful pieces in foreign affairs. He's very experienced. He worked for Hillary as Secretary of State and later for Vice President Biden. So we've got the best team in office, most experienced I think we've ever had in terms of foreign policy under the Biden administration, starting with the president himself. So you're going to see a very sophisticated, nuanced set of policies toward both China and Russia.
We always seem to focus, General, so much on flashpoints in our foreign policy, like China or Russia or Iran or North Korea. I'm curious what you think is the biggest foreign threat to the U.S. that Americans aren't talking about.
Well, we don't talk enough about cyber, to be honest with you. I mean, if something shuts down our electricity grid and cyber could do that, you'll have a catastrophe in this country that dwarfs what's happened with the pandemic. And it could happen. There's $200 billion in the new Biden infrastructure plan for grid modernization and resilience. We're going to need every penny of it. And we should spend it as soon as possible because this is really America's greatest vulnerability. We always talk about flashpoints, though, because that's how foreign policy actually changes and gets made. Foreign policy stays on a continuum, and then it's not. And it's usually associated with something extraordinary that happens. So you do have to watch the flashpoints, but cyber is the one we're not paying enough attention to.
Finally, General, deciding when to lean on force and strength and when to lean on policy and diplomacy instead. Few people would have had the kind of front row seat to those moments as you have, and that makes me think of the southern border. President Trump tended to lean on shows of force and strength. President Biden seems aimed more at a policy and diplomatic approach. I'm wondering which you would advise.
Got to have a balance of these things. Now, in terms of force, look, our borders should be sacred. Shouldn't come across our borders without authority. That's a violation. But we've got to recognize where these violations are originating. And we've had a long policy of exploitation of Central America going back over 100 years. That's where the term banana republic came from. We took over those countries for the United Fruit Company back 100 years ago because Americans wanted bananas. And so we are responsible in many ways historically for the conditions in these countries. Not totally responsible, but if we want to deal with the southern border, we should deal with the problem of gangs, of narco trafficking, of all kinds of illegal activities down there. We should be helping these countries modernize their economies, their political structures, and find the kind of hope and democracy at home that they think they can find in the United States. People don't leave their homes on a whim. They don't come to the United States, most of them, on just a dream. Maybe some young people do, but families don't give up their relations, their homes, their way of life on a whim. They do it only out of necessity. So we have to work forward into Central and South America to help change those conditions so these people don't feel the need to come. And then we need a real program to bring people into this country that we need, that we want, that are legitimate immigrants coming here for a better life, sure, at a certain absorbable pace. We don't have that policy worked out. And I know that the president's put the vice president in charge of it. I think we should have confidence She's going to see the big picture and work it in all its dimensions, not a single dimension, not just name calling, not just toughness at the border.
General Wesley Clark, U.S. Army, retired, is, of course, the former Supreme Allied Commander of Europe. General, really appreciate the time and the insight. It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
And up next, we'll pivot to COVID and show you some good news with the vaccine, but worrisome news about one of the best known jabs. Millions of doses will not be going into arms.
Shake your legs, shake your abs, shake your butt, shake up your entire body to a slim, firm, and sexy new you with PowerFit Elite, the breakthrough multi-directional vibration platform that helps engage all your muscles from the moment you step on it. PowerFit uses multi-directional vibration to create muscle confusion and rapidly contract and relax your muscles to help you get fit and stay fit.
It's intense. You really feel your whole body working.
You could be watching TV, but you do feel the workout.
It works you out where you don't feel like you're working out. It's actually a lot of fun.
Each traditional exercise that you do on PowerFit Elite can help sculpt, transform, and redefine your body from head to toe. The secret is the multi-directional vibration technology that causes muscle confusion and forces them to contract and counter-challenge you. Your muscles work hard so you can stabilize and maintain your balance. There are 3 standing positions: walking, jogging, and then running. Plus, there are 3 different program levels for workouts to choose from, so you can really customize your workout. PowerFit Elite can help improve your energy, burn calories, tone your body, define your abs, work your arms, strengthen your legs, boost your buttocks, and so much more. And for an even more intense workout, add resistance bands for bicep curls, forward lateral raises, and crisscross pulls. It's time to join the new fitness revolution that's shaking up the world. Call or go online now and you can try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days for only $14.95. But wait, order right now and we'll upgrade you to the deluxe set that includes the complete workout guide, the power bands, and the handy remote control. That's an over $80 value free. Try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days. And if it's not the best workout system you've used, just return it for a refund of your trial price. But hold everything, we'll also add our healthy eating plan to help you achieve your best possible results free. Try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days for only $14.95 and experience the power of extreme vibration. Order now.
When you fall and can't get help,
Help!
you will lie on the floor for hours or days in constant, terrible anguish, which often results in a tragic outcome. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
With any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether at home,
I've fallen and I can't get up.
in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
or on the go.
Help! I'm in the park and I can't get up.
And batteries never need charging. Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-215-6582. That's 1-800-215-6582. Call now. 1-800-215-6582.
We're getting new data on the COVID vaccines, and it's all good news. Pfizer announcing that ongoing trials show the vaccine remains effective even after 6 months. And it also appears to be fully effective against the dominant variants that are out there. Plus, a new study shows that nursing home deaths have fallen by more than 90% since the vaccine first rolled out. But a problem with the Johnson & Johnson one-shot vaccine is now raising concerns. The New York Times reporting that workers at a Baltimore plant who were manufacturing ingredients for future doses of Johnson & Johnson's one-shot vaccine accidentally mixed up vaccine ingredients several weeks ago, possibly ruining about 15 million potential shots before they got to the final stages of production. Johnson & Johnson says the error was caught during a quality control check, that none of the ingredients in question made it into circulation, and that all of the 20 million doses being used in the U.S. were made at other plants and were not affected. The company says it is still on track to deliver 24 million more doses in April, and in total will deliver the 100 million doses they promised by the first half of the year. On Wednesday, the CDC announcing more than 1 in 5 adults in the U.S. are now fully vaccinated, including more than half the country's population over the age of 65. The vaccine rollout leading to a 96% decline in cases in nursing homes. But now, for the first time since the pandemic began, the majority of new patients hospitalized with the virus are younger adults.
That have yet to be vaccinated, those are the ones that we're actually starting to see a rise in hospitalization.
With cases currently rising in more than half the country since last week, the director of the CDC fearful a new surge could be on the way.
This is a critical moment in our fight against the pandemic. As we see increases in cases, we can't afford to let our guard down.
And up next on RFL, Biden goes big. We'll show you the next massive jobs program the president has unveiled, and we'll explain why it's drawing even more comparisons to what FDR did in his first 100 days.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and 0 deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Nurses are there the day we are born. They are there when your family is in crisis, and they are there in the end. In confronting the most catastrophic health crisis in modern history, we must remember our American nurse heroes need our support as much as we need them. To show our gratitude for their courage and ensure they receive the critical education and support services they need, donate to the Coronavirus Response Fund for Nurses today, in honor of your American nurse hero.
We are planning within a few days to ask the Congress for legislation to enable the government to undertake public work, thus stimulating directly and indirectly the employment of many others in well-considered projects. Our next step in seeking immediate relief is a grant of $500 million to help the states and the counties and the municipalities in their duty to care for those who at this time need direct and immediate relief.
That was Franklin Roosevelt just 2 months after becoming president and as the nation approached the height of the Great Depression. He was pitching his New Deal in one of his famous fireside chats. Today, Joe Biden is just 2.5 months into his presidency, and he's going big to deal with a crisis just like Roosevelt did. On the heels of the $2 trillion stimulus plan that's already put money into the pockets of more than 130 million Americans, President Biden is now pushing another $2 trillion for infrastructure projects. Biden visited Pittsburgh late yesterday afternoon and announced the program.
It's not a plan that tinkers around the edges. It's a once-in-a-generation investment in America, unlike anything we've seen or done since we built the interstate highway system and the space race decades ago. In fact, it's the largest American jobs investment since World War II.
But there's a big sticking point for Republicans, the corporate tax hikes that Biden wants to use to pay for the program. But keep in mind, even with Biden's proposed increase, the corporate tax rate would still be lower than it was before Donald Trump. Some interesting new numbers about the plan and the taxes, according to a new poll. More than half of the public support the proposal if it's paid for with tax hikes on the wealthy or corporations. And another 27% say they support the proposal, but without the tax increases. All told, though, that's better than 80% support for improving our infrastructure. Let's bring in our next guest to discuss. He recently penned a piece in Slate with the headline, "Biden's COVID bill is his first step toward an FDR-style presidency." Rich spoke with that writer yesterday, Slate's senior business and economics correspondent, Jordan Weissman.
Jordan, it's interesting. In your piece, you reference late in the campaign, I think it was October, Biden went to Warm Springs, Georgia. And obviously the symbolism of FDR wasn't lost on any, but he talked about that the moment called for a Rooseveltian kind of response. Do you think he always had this in mind after a career in Washington to be consequential, or was it just that the moment demanded it?
I think everybody who runs for president wants to be consequential, but I certainly don't think the Joe Biden who started running for president necessarily had in mind that he was going to be the next FDR, right? This was something his campaign started playing up kind of later on as the coronavirus crisis took hold and metastasized. And, as the saying goes, you never let a crisis go to waste. And so they saw there was a huge crisis and that was going to demand a huge response and perhaps provide a huge opportunity to rebuild the country in fundamental ways that maybe he previously hadn't imagined.
And you talk about this in your piece. Let's talk about the stimulus first. Do you think that Biden and those around him are going to be driven by the fact that what Obama did in 2009, they almost did a phenomenal job about being covert about the monies that they were dedicating to fight the economic crisis in front of us at the time. And I can even argue with the Affordable Care Act, the same thing. Are they going to do a better job marketing this time that there's real checks in people's mailboxes and people's bank accounts now to keep them in their homes and pay the bills?
Well, I think one of the very important lessons that Democrats took away from 2009 was that when you do something for people, you have to tell them you did it for them and remind them over and over again that you did it for them. One of the now sort of notorious political mistakes of the 2009 stimulus was that it actually included basically a series of checks, the making work pay tax credit. They were, tax rebates for families, and almost nobody realized that they received them because they were designed to be paid out through essentially payroll tax slowly over time. And so people wouldn't notice they were getting the money. And you might ask, well, why would a politician give people money and try to not tell them about it? And the idea was that people would be more likely to spend it, and it would do more to stimulate the economy if they didn't know they were receiving it. That way they wouldn't save it. And from an economic policymaker perspective, it was very clever. It was smart. But from a political perspective, it was sort of malpractice. And so that gives you sort of a sense of the difference between then and now. Whereas Joe Biden went to Georgia and campaigned for the Senate candidates there saying, yes, we are going to give you $2,000 checks or bump them up to $2,000. So the marketing has been completely different. And the philosophy has been a little bit different in the sense that they want to go big and make sure people know they're going big.
Infrastructure projects, people can see them if they're brick and mortar, and even theoretically, if you increase broadband, all of a sudden people, are going to be able to do things they never did before. At the end, Jordan, if this thing gets through, will this be tangible where people can get their arms around what the government did, let alone put a lot of people back to work?
I think just looking at the plan they've laid out so far, there are lots of parts of it that are going to be very tangible. And it's sort of being designed and marketed that way, right? There are little bits like, we're going to make sure that there will be no more lead pipes left in the United States of America. There will be no more, not a single family will have to get water from a lead pipe. And they say, we're going to repair the 10 largest, most economically important bridges that are in need of being fixed up in the country. And then we're going to repair 10,000 more of them or 15,000 more of them, the smaller bridges. But I can guarantee you there will be signs along those 10 bridges that reporters can go take photos of and use in their stories for how this infrastructure project is coming along. If you look, there's tons of stuff in this plan. There are bits about affordable housing. There's bits about rural broadband, which obviously people would feel the benefits of. So I think that the idea is that, yes, this is an infrastructure plan that people will see and feel the benefits of. They will just see things being built. as well as, on top of that, there are things like long-term care for elderly and disabled relatives and kind of more social insurance type things that are being worked in there that would help people too.
Sometimes we make the mistake, or at least I do, of you talk about a subject, you move on for the next day. I wanted to come back to not just what the president was promoting, what got passed with the stimulus, and now he's talking about some generational move potentially in the environment next month. Sherrod Brown, who wanted the $15 minimum wage and didn't get it, and Bernie Sanders, who wanted them to even go further, they both said, in so many words, this is a big effing deal what they got done, that this is really generational already and potentially even going forward. It's impossible to exaggerate the significance, certainly as we keep crunching and crunching government down seemingly every few years, just how big a role government's going to be playing here going forward. And if they can market it right and actually deliver, maybe even change the idea how people look at government.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. There's been a lot of debate amongst pundits and academics about just how significant the American Rescue Plan Act was. The COVID bill, it was very large, but does it really signify the beginning of a new era in the way in American political philosophy and the way we think about government? Is it really the end of the long tail of the Reagan era, or is this just sort of a one-time thing that Democrats did because the circumstances called for it? To me, it does look like a pretty profound philosophical shift in terms of being willing just to spend and act quickly. Sherrod Brown and Bernie Sanders were maybe even a little, maybe I would say overly enthusiastic about just how important the bill was, but it does lay the groundwork for some potentially very important long-term reforms. For instance, if the expanded child tax credit that could make a massive dent in child poverty is made permanent. It was the one that was included in this bill that gives a benefit of up to $3,600 to parents of young children per child, is only for 1 year. If that becomes permanent, that's a huge change in the social safety net. And also it would be a real legacy accomplishment for many of the people in the Senate and in the White House. So there is, we might be seeing the beginnings of a fundamental shift in America's relationship to government, or dare I say, big government.
Finally, Jordan, and I know you have your ear to the ground here too, but off camera, the friends I have in the financial services world, if I speak to 10 of them, 5 of them will say, we're on the edge of one of the biggest, boom economies that we're going to see here. Conversely, the other half say there's going to be a huge market correction coming up here, and deficits do matter, inflation is very possible, et cetera. Is there any growing consensus what the next year as it relates to the economy is going to look like, specifically more so even the markets and inflation?
I think most people are pretty optimistic. If you look at growth forecasts coming from banks, and you look at how things like Treasury rates are moving, most of them suggest investors expect growth. I think most economists expect growth, assuming that we continue to vaccinate people and folks can go back to their jobs and that runs smoothly. There are good reasons to think we could see the beginning of a boom. There is a very heated debate about whether or not we're going to see a burst of inflation. And I don't want to bore everyone going into the ins and outs of that. But people like Larry Summers have been insisting that we're pouring a dangerous amount of money into the economy. There are also a lot of people who very much doubt that's a serious danger right now. Personally, I'm not too worried about it. But you're certainly going to hear a lot of debates and a lot of talk about whether or not we see inflation and whether or not we're going to, quote, overheat the economy. I don't expect that discussion to go away anytime soon.
Jordan Weissman, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Up next on RFL, we just spoke about the infrastructure projects. After the break, we'll talk about the infrastructure politics. ABC News political director Rick Klein will join us to discuss what's happening, that and more, as he takes us behind the scenes of Capitol Hill.
Has your AC busted, computer crashed, appliance broken? Then you need ARW, American Residential Warranty.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty. Home appliance repairs and replacement can cause stress and cost you over $3,000 per year. But starting at less than $1 a day, ARW has home warranty plans that cover household appliances, systems, and electronics. Parts and labor included. When I needed ARW, they were there. My oven actually took a dive in the middle of making a big dinner for family and friends, picked up the phone, called ARW, they repaired it, dinner saved, that easy.
My air conditioning broke on a Sunday. It was so hot, I called ARW and they came out and fixed it right away.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, even pools and spas, and so much more. All you have to do is call or go to getahomeplan.com. Plus, ARW's partner with Assurient to offer protection for all your new and used household electronics for just one low price.
I dropped my laptop and ARW replaced it with a brand new one, and all I paid was a small service fee.
All plans are fully customizable and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get a home security system valued at $1,250 free with any plan. And you can trust ARW to be there when you need it. Just call ARW and a licensed technician will be dispatched to your home. All covered repairs are guaranteed.
My refrigerator broke, and not only did ARW repair it fast, they even sent me a reimbursement check for all the food that went bad.
So come on, relax. Stop worrying about unexpected breakdowns and costly repairs. Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
Call 1-800-253-1237. Again, that's 1-800-253-1237 or log on to getahomeplan.com today.
8 years ago, my daughter called to say she was expecting our first grandchild, but I never heard her say it. So a few years ago, Gina bought me a nano hearing aid. And now I love hearing Ryan call me Papa. And at only $297 for a full pair, they make a great gift for someone you know. Plus, call now and order one hearing aid, and Nano will give you a second absolutely free.
Call 1-800-238-2857.
Before the break, we talked about President Biden's $2 trillion infrastructure plan, which Republicans are already opposing, saying the tax hikes will hurt the economy and the country can't afford to run up even more debt. By the way, it's kind of predictable that the GOP is worried about spending now that a Democrat is in the White House, but they didn't make a peep as Donald Trump ran up trillion-dollar deficits even before the pandemic hammered the economy. Another big political battle right now is the fight over voting rights. In the wake of Georgia's restrictive new law that President Biden and others have compared to the Jim Crow days, many companies with large footprints in that state are now speaking out about the law. That includes Coca-Cola, Google, Delta Airlines, Bank of America, and more. Plus, Major League Baseball is considering moving its All-Star game from Atlanta in protest, and the president says he'd, quote, strongly support that move. Meantime, out in California, yet another mass shooting. A gunman killed 4 people at an office park in Orange County yesterday. One of the victims, a 9-year-old boy who died in the arms of a woman who's believed to be his mother, who was trying to protect him at the time. It is the third high-profile mass shooting in the U.S. in just the past 2 weeks. With mass shootings making headlines again comes the pressure for Congress to address gun safety. In a new Morning Consult Politico poll, voters backed stronger gun control laws by more than 2-1, and big majorities support a slew of different gun safety measures, including background checks, bans on assault weapons and high-capacity ammo magazines, a red flag or mental health danger ban, a 3-day waiting period, banning guns in schools, and limiting assault weapon sales to people 21 or older and more. But despite those numbers, more people in the poll said it was more important to protect the right to own guns than to limit gun ownership. Joining us to discuss those topics and more, ABC News political director Rick Klein. Rick, let's begin with the president's $2 trillion infrastructure plan. We showed polling. The American public supports it, and they support the idea of wealthier Americans and corporations paying for it. Republicans are opposed. They cite cost and taxes. Some are pushing for a smaller deal. Game this out. How does the push for infrastructure end?
Well, it doesn't include any Republicans, for starters. Almost certainly you're not going to have Republicans bought in for this. They wouldn't support the $1.9 trillion on COVID. This is a larger price tag, and as you noted, it includes tax increases. So it is a Democrat-only game, and it's a difficult game if you're President Biden, because you've got different constituencies inside your own party. You've got some people who think it is too much spending and needs to be more tightly focused. Others, including the more progressive wing of the party, saying that it isn't nearly enough. They want trillions more in spending. So it'll be a balancing act that I think is going to test how much sway President Biden really has over his party. There are popular elements in these bills, just like there were popular elements in the COVID package. He is broadly popular at this moment. He's a president that in some ways should be at the peak of his power. This is going to test that.
In a piece you wrote this week, you focused on corporate influence against the new Georgia voting restrictions, even though they came too late to stop the laws in Georgia. Will corporate America similarly step up and try and influence the federal voting access bill in the Senate? And how do Democrats handle that relationship as President Biden looks to raise corporate taxes on infrastructure?
It's such a fascinating dynamic because you have these corporations, Delta and Coca-Cola this week weighing in a little late in their home state of Georgia. But the immediate response from Democrats was like, great, welcome to the party. Let's start getting to work on pushing a federal overhaul of voting rights. And if you can get that done, then there's other states to work on as well. But you're right, corporate America generally not too happy about the idea of higher taxes at the corporate level. And so that's at cross purposes. I think some are resigned to the fact that President Biden is the president. He has Democratic majorities in both the House and the Senate. He's largely going to be able to enact the agenda that he likes, but they aren't going to be happy about it. And this is another one of those tests for Joe Biden. How far do you want to push? He has some allies at the moment right now that could work in tandem with him from the corporate side, the business-friendly side of the ledger, but this isn't necessarily the case that they're going to want that.
Going to be fascinating. I want to shift to guns. We showed the numbers from the new Morning Consult Politico poll. Major public support for gun control efforts and a slew of specific proposals, all with big numbers in its favor. Yet the public values protecting the rights of gun owners in that poll over limiting gun ownership. I'm wondering what you make of those numbers.
Yeah, I think broadly speaking, you can ask a question and get almost any answer you want on gun control and a lot of other issues. What I've seen consistently in polls is that people are for what you might determine to be common sense solutions, like tightened background checks, like the idea of universal background checks, like an assault weapons ban. That's broadly popular. Not many sportsmen need that to go hunting. But when you get into any kind of broader description, if you make it about gun rights and the rights of gun owners, it becomes a lot more polarizing. That's been the frame around gun control for a long time. And they've gotten close in Congress a few times to passing something. They haven't quite got the numbers there. And I think it is because it's easy to categorize something in a way that isn't necessarily productive. Now having a third high-profile mass shooting in the space of just 2 weeks, maybe it changes the conversation, but I also kind of feel like I've seen the movie before where it seems like the country is galvanized to action and there's resolve to do something, but people move on pretty quickly.
You sound like you don't sense that there's a change in the moment or in the mood of the country right now.
I don't. Look, I mean, I was covering politics during Sandy Hook when Vice President Biden was given the charge, and it felt like that was the moment. And the fact that it fizzled after the massacre of those children in Connecticut, that to me was an abject lesson about how polarized these things can become. Then as now, you had a Democratic president who was very much committed to doing it. It's still not clear where Joe Biden is going to spend that political capital. He clearly wants to get things done. He'll have executive orders at his disposal potentially, but the big ticket stuff takes legislative action, and I just don't see it.
Finally, Rick, Matt Gaetz, all sorts of drama with the claims of extortion. Someone at the Justice Department was out to get him, but at the heart of it all are claims of a relationship between the 38-year-old congressman and a 17-year-old girl. What questions are you waiting to have answered, and how much jeopardy do you think Gaetz is in right now?
Well, I think one key question is whether he knew, if he had this relationship, if he knew that she was 17 and if he violated any laws in moving her across states. That becomes one threshold question. There's also a broader Florida scandal involving another Republican politician who's in deeper hot water than anything that Gaetz is in right now. Are those stories connected in a broader way? Are there other women? Is this a pattern that we're talking about? And there's also the question that he's raised about whether there was someone trying to intervene intervened to get this whole thing to be hushed up, and there's hush money involved in that. Bottom line is this was an investigation that we understand started over the summer when President Trump was still in office, that the former Attorney General Bill Barr was being kept apprised of it at the time. That changes this. It makes it look less like a purely partisan prosecution. He's going to fight this out in the court of public opinion in some way, as he's wont to do as a frequent guest on cable news, but ultimately it's going to be about the facts and what prosecutors know and what they have.
ABC News Political Director Rick Klein. Rick, as always, thanks very much.
Hey, thank you.
And we'll be right back to wrap up RFL after this.
Is your bathroom looking old and worn out? Want to update it, but you don't know where to start? Then let BCI Bath & Shower show you how to turn that old bath into an aisle of beauty and functionality. Our residential bathroom solutions provide the best value on the market, and our customer service is second to none. Our cost-effective BCI Bath & Shower family of products has what you need.
Remodeling our bathroom was a big decision for us.
They didn't make a mess out of our house at all. And at the end of the day, we had a beautiful new bathroom. And it was a great experience the whole way through.
We have the best monthly payment programs in the industry, with payments as low as $68 per month, or no interest, no payments for 18 months. For a limited time, be one of the first 100 callers who schedule a free in-home consultation and receive $500 off.
1-800-914-9103. That's 1-800-914-9103.
Factory trained and certified installers made in the USA, and discounts for seniors and military. BCI Bath & Shower, the leader in affordable bath.
If something happened to you, what would happen to them? Their home, their education, their future. You need life insurance, and chances are SelectQuote can help you get it for less than $1 a day.
SelectQuote found Jacob 40, a $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. And SelectQuote found his wife Wendy, a $500,000 policy for only $17 a month.
Our secret? At SelectQuote, we aggressively comparison shop up to 10 highly rated companies to find you the company with the best rates.
We found Gary, 35, a $1 million policy for only $22 a month.
Why pay more? Give your family the security they need at a price you can afford.
Call 800-717-7198 or go to selectquote.com now and get the insurance your family needs.
At a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
This is important news for people who have taken Zantac or its generic ranitidine and then suffered from cancer. Zantac and generic ranitidine have been linked to cancers. Zantac and ranitidine contain NDMA, a known cancer-causing agent. If you or a loved one took Zantac or generic ranitidine and were then diagnosed with bladder cancer, kidney cancer, or any of these cancers, call Davis & Crump right now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Operators are standing by.
Finally for us tonight, peanuts, Cracker Jacks, and hot dogs. Those staples of opening day today in Major League Baseball, joined by some new staples like masks, distancing, and vaccines.
Ready. Crowd into
the batter's up and the fans are back. For the first time since 2019, the loyalty is stronger than ever.
We'll give blood if we have to get inside.
Exactly. This family driving all the way from Illinois to the Bronx to watch their favorite team.
Is this your first Yankee game?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you're feeling?
Really excited. And fans are making sure to cover all their bases when it comes to COVID.
We went to our local clinic, got tested. It's definitely worth it.
The New York Yankees and Mets are only allowing 20% capacity. Spectators required to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test. Masks mandatory at all stadiums.
The pandemic was a long, hard road, but today we get to celebrate a little bit of our freedom.
The Texas Rangers are opening at 100% capacity with an option for distance seating. President Biden condemning the decision on ESPN.
They should listen to Dr. Fauci and the scientists and the experts. But I think it's not responsible.
The Mets and Nationals were scheduled to play today, but had to postpone due to a possible COVID-19 exposure, with infections going up in more than half the country.
This is a critical moment in our fight against the pandemic.
The CDC says more than 150 million COVID-19 shots have made it into arms. In fact, at least 11 baseball stadiums have operated as mass vaccination sites. But as we make headway, officials are urging everyone to keep their guard up.
Looks a little different, but at least it's baseball season again. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Andrew Whitman. Thank you so much for joining us. Next RFL tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Until then, have a great night, everybody.
Are you over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days? I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. Call now for this free book on maximizing your income in retirement. Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers from leading financial firm J.D. Mellberg. That's right,